Greetings, hunters and cosmonauts. Today we're going to be talking about Axelar. It's one of the most popular networks on the market right now due to the relative ease of development it provides towards its main objective, and that is connectivity across multiple chains. In short, Axelar is built to help blockchains become connected, and it gives developers the right tools to get it done, becoming a universal overlay network. It's a decentralized full stack network that is making use of nodes and a validator set that is also taking care of EVM compatible chains. An important aspect to keep in mind is that the top Axelar layer is the environment designed for developers to build dApps and move cross-chain using APIs and SDKs without the need for a new programming language. That means that it enables any-to-any communication across blockchains. The dApps are permissionless, and the consensus mechanism is quite irrelevant in the discussion. The two main basics of how it functions are described in token transfers and general message passing that calls on any type of EVM function from inside a dApp. Now, obviously, you would be tempted to think that Axelar is a typical bridge between networks, but it's not just another bridge. A blockchain connected to the network goes through a compounding effect, and it becomes able to communicate with all the other existing chains. The high level of interoperability grants applications the incredible wide range of solutions across Cosmos and also non-Cosmos chains, whether IBC is even available or not. Being able to plug in another blockchain connected to an entire ecosystem and access global liquidity is one of the top tier reasons for which Axelar is an important player on the market. One-time deposit addresses can be created through API that allows receiving of funds cross-chain, thus allowing projects or users to experience something similar to the on-ramps of centralized exchanges. With the help of Axelar Network, existing blockchains such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano can communicate with each other and connect to other chains and interoperability hubs such as Cosmos, Avalanche, and Polkadot. Now, moving on to gateway smart contracts and protocols, Axelar uses something that's called general message passing, otherwise known as GMP, to facilitate communication between contracts across different blockchains, allowing cross-chain applications to be built and further on access functionalities of all ranges. These gateways are obviously secured through the network's validator set, and at the heart of everything lies the cross-chain gateway protocol, otherwise known as CGP, which allows the adoption of new blockchains without limitations on consensus or a requirement of a common custom language or specific changes. This is also considered to be the routing protocol. The cross-chain transfer protocol, however, so moving on to CTP, sits on top of routing protocols such as the aforementioned CGP, allowing dApps to be connected across any chain through API calls, and including transferring, locking, and unlocking of assets between two addresses across platforms. It's worth noting that Axelar's security is well tested, constantly audited, and being improved with every step along the way. Speaking of which, moving on to security, while having at its core the classic POS staking model in terms of security for block creation and rewards, Axelar also added quadratic voting during the beginning of September 2022, where a validator's voting power does not increase exponentially unless the validator's delegations go up by a huge margin. There are also a few security mechanisms put in place. Just to mention security mechanism number one, the network safety threshold is at 90%, which means that almost all validators need to approve a transaction before it is processed, making collusion to bad events highly unlikely. Security mechanism number two talks about the robust fallback mechanism. It elaborates on an emergency unlock key in case of network stalling. The emergency key acts as a fallback to enable asset recovery in case something bad happens, basically. Security mechanism number three, the decentralization architecture allows the number of validators to be as high as necessary without relying on transaction limits or fees, or even influencing the last two mentioned through the utilization of threshold signature schemes. So that means that if, for example, Axelar Network requires let's say 100 validators in the set, it can simply achieve it without actually impacting fees or transaction limits. Security mechanism number four talks about maximum decentralization of the fallback mechanism, and it allows community users to participate in the fallback mechanism cost-free and without the need to run nodes or be connected to the network. So basically they don't even need to be online. These are emergency on-call users only, however. A little bit more in depth about that will be dropping in the links below. Moving on to tokenomics, one important aspect of AXL is the fact that it's not necessary for cross-chain transactions. The transactions can be paid in the target chain's token. However, the network services are paid through AXL and the fee payments are handled in the background, enabling permissionless access basically. One thing you should note is the fact that AXL also has deflationary potential. While the rewards are inflationary, the token has deflationary potential due to the transaction fee mechanism. And we're going to be discussing a little bit more about that in our Medium article. We're going to be putting down the supply, the explanations, and also some links towards more in-depth explanations even further than our own Medium article, linking to Axelar's economy and own blogs on exactly how to read and understand through the economics of AXL. With recent considerations, Axelar currently supports a number of 29 connected chains, and it continues to grow every year. For a list of said networks, we're going to be dropping the link in the Medium article, the latest updates, including the latest updates of the network's progress that have been posted on December 9th of 2022, so quite recently. BlockHunters is currently active on both Axelar testnets and with a few previous weeks of activity in the active set on mainnet. We have been maintaining an infrastructure of multiple EVM nodes and real layers for the past few months and will continue to do so, increasing our contribution on chain. If you like this video or you just want to support us in general, you can contribute by delegating to our validator on the mainnet. Any delegation is one step further in us joining the active set once again in the future. For everything else, we'll just leave some useful links in the description below, and don't forget to check our Medium article for more details. BlockHunters out.